Okay, so I see a bunch of people here, and that's exactly what we're hoping for. And what I'm planning to do is take you through uh, what happens at Riders at Harriman. But first, I should tell you what Riders at Harriman is and introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Rick Just. I'm the director at Riders at. I'm the second director there. Margaret Marty was the first. She did it for about, I guess, 7 or 8 years, and then I've done it since then. This is going to be our 12th year of Writers at Harriman, which is a week-long writing camp for high school students. And I'm going to share the screen and find out where I want to be. Get here anywhere, and it doesn't really make too much difference, I guess. Don't want that. Well, let's share it, and I'll noodle around and see if I can find out where I really want to be. All right, here's Writers at Harriman homepage, and I can still see you guys, and that's exactly what I wanted to do, is be right here. This is Harriman State Park. One of my favorite pictures because it shows an awful lot about the park, including the horses, of course.
Yeah. Okay, I'm getting the message here, but that doesn't mean much to anybody else. Um, we're right on the Henry's Fork of the Snake River at Harriman State Park. I should say it's Harriman State Park of Idaho because there are two of them. Harriman State Park of New York isn't the one where we have camp, but they are related in a way. They were created by the same family, the Harrimans, and in a sense, through big donations to the different state park agencies. I'm going to go to schedule. Where is schedule? Oh, schedule is right here. It's right on top, and walk you through what we do at Writers at Harriman. And some of you have been previous students, and some of you, I hope, are going to be students again, and on and on. It starts August 1st this year, and the students arrive at the camp kind of late in the afternoon. They get situated. They are shown where they're going to be staying at either at the dormitory or the bunkhouse, or this year we're also going to be having a couple of bedrooms in what we call the old cookhouse. We're going to spread people out just a little bit more. And they're checked in by the proctors. Two of the three here will be proctors again this year. Tristan and Heidi will both be there, and then we will have Felix joining them. They are the go-to folks at the camp. They can answer any question and solve any problem. So that's they're good folks to know. At 5:30, everyone meets in the dining hall to learn about the evening's activities on that first Sunday and eat their first meal. And what they are always pleasantly surprised at how much fun that is, because we have a great chef. He really does a good job. And we think we're going to have him back again this year from Cafe Saber. Following dinner, we introduce each other, make some connections. We play a couple of kind of silly games so that we get to know each other a little bit more. And then we assign the students to their teaching writer. And there's no more than 10 students assigned to each writer. And they spend a few minutes getting to know each other and talking about what they hope to get out of the camp and such. And then about 9 o'clock, they have some free time to get unpacked a little bit more and maybe sit around the campfire. But the real camp starts on Monday at 6 o'clock. If you like that, you don't have to get up at 6 and go for a nature hike with me, but I'm glad to do it, and do it every day of the camp with generally a dozen or so kids that want to go along. If we're lucky, we can spot a moose. If we're just not even paying attention, we'll find out that we can find trumpeter swans and sandhill cranes. Breakfast is at 8 o'clock. It's important to show up for meals on time because that's where we talk about what's going on for the day. And then at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, we gather at the Scoville Center, where I'll give a little talk about the history of Harriman State Park and introduce members of park staff who will talk about the wildlife in the park. This guy here, you probably recognize him, John Muir. This picture wasn't taken at Harriman, although it looks like it could be. John did spend quite a bit of time at Harriman before it was a state park, back when it was the railroad ranch. And that's what this history talk is to tell you about. Then at 10 o'clock, the students join their teaching writers for a couple of hours. And their writers will give them some writing prompts, typically. They'll talk again about their own writing and what they might be having some issues with. And the teachers will help them work on that. And at 12:30, everybody meets in the dining hall, hear announcements, and get some of that good food. Then the electives start at 1:15. They go till 3:15. They're with a teaching writer again, but in this case, it's not necessarily their main teaching writer. Each day they have a chance to take an elective that might be on a particular topic that they're interested in, say a little more in-depth on character development or something like that. They'll have a couple of hours with that teacher that day, and then they'll go back again the next day. And then they can switch topics on the third day. And at 3:15, students take their pick of some optional activities. They can have free time if they like that, or they can join. I'll move this down so that everybody can see the Hidalgos, Kara and Daniel. They are artists, and they generally teach classes that have something to do with writing and literature and books. Dinner again at 5:30. And then at 6:30, our camp naturalist, Alan Dale, will lead everybody on a hike around Silver Lake and areas around. As you can see here, these campers have got their cameras out, and they're looking at a pair of trumpeter swans and their cygnets. They're young birds. I think there were 3 or 4 this year, and they got within 20 feet of them. And the trumpeters were very tolerant. They're not always. They often start paddling across the lake to get away from you, but they were very tolerant this year. On Tuesday, you got another opportunity to hike with the camp naturalist and the director, and we'll go a little different direction each day. Breakfast is at 8 o'clock. And then here we have an interesting thing. Every one of our writers will speak for an hour once during the camp. This happens to be Malia Collins, Idaho's writer in residence, who is also a camp teacher, a teaching writer this year. And she talks for an hour about her writing and about writers that she has taken something from, writers that she admires. And that will happen each day. One of the teaching writers will get up for an hour, and these are wonderful sessions. You really learn a lot. The teaching writers take them very, very seriously and really prepare for them. So that's a terrific opportunity. Then it's back with the teaching writer that they've been assigned to for a couple of hours. Might be at indoor locations if it happens to be either a super hot or super cold or super windy or super wet day. But most of the time, they're outside. They'll sit around a picnic table or something and take advantage of the atmosphere to inspire their writing. 12:30, they're back at lunch. This is our chef, Drew. This is a portrait of Chef Drew that they drew a couple of years ago. The campers typically love Drew because he feeds them, and he feeds them well. Again, the electives start at 1:15, go to 3:15. You'll be with the same writer you chose the first day on this one. And then again at 3:15, they have a chance to do something with the Idaho Art Lab people, Dan and Kara. Dan or Kara, I should say. They do teach separately. And then on Tuesday, we don't have dinner exactly. We have a little box lunch a sack lunch. People prepare their own sandwiches and they take fruit and such because they are going on a little adventure on Tuesday evenings. About 5:30, everybody walks down to the horse barns and they pick out a horse to ride. Half the kids will get on the horses and ride out to eat their sack lunch along one of the lakes. The other half will be in a little wagon drawn by horses. And after they're done with the evening's meal and everything, they'll switch places. So everybody gets a chance to ride a horse and everybody gets a chance to ride in the wagon. On Wednesday, 6 a.m., you've got that nature hike if you choose to do it. That's about right for sunrise. You get up there and you can see that sun rising and over the Henry's Fork of the Snake River. It's a beautiful thing. Breakfast again at 8. Then our writers' talks happen again. One of the writers will be speaking at 9 a.m. This happens to be Chris Dempsey, who has been there with the camp since the very beginning. He won't be here this year, but he'll probably be back in the next year or two. He's a poet who taught English at the Eagle High School. He's now retired, and he's also a coach. He's a really interesting teacher, interesting guy, and the kids get a lot from him. At 10, after the writers' talk, the students go out for another 2.5 hour session with their main teaching writer. Then at 12:30, they're back in for lunch. And here's where they get a chance to sign up for story. And they'll want to do that. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Electives again, 1:15 to 3:15. They can switch at this point on Wednesday and go with another writer to learn another topic. Wednesday's midweek cleanup days. The campers are assigned to clean up a little bit around the dormitory, and they have some writing time as well. Again, announcements at 5:30 when dinner happens. And at 6:30, Jessica Holmes, one of the founders of Boise's popular Story Night, will teach storycraft. She'll teach the students how to tell a story. She is a hoot. Jessica is a heck of a lot of fun. And then following the story class that they can sign up for or not, the students have some free time. On Thursday, they can go out there and walk and greet the sun again at 6 o'clock with myself and the camp naturalist. Breakfast at 8. Writer talks continue at 9 o'clock. This is Nicole Lefevre. Nicole has been with the camp since the very beginning. She's a great writer. She was also a state senator for a number of years, so she's got a lot to teach people. At 10 o'clock, the students go back to their teaching writers for a couple of hours. And again, they'll be scattered around the area, taking in the park. Now 12:30, it's back to the dining hall. and these three, apparently, we showed them earlier, that they really love to eat because here they are again. I just noticed today that I have that picture in twice, but anyway. And I think Renee is on this call someplace. Yes, there she is. Hi, Renee.
Mr. Right, don't do me like that.
You what?
Don't do me like that.
Don't do you like that? Well, it's Renee played a trick on me a couple of years ago, and she remembers it pretty well. They rushed out to get me and bring me into the dining hall, and she was out face down on the floor, and they were talking about, what did you eat the whole mushroom?
Yeah.
Did you get it? You know, that kind of thing. And I had my phone out and was calling 911, and she turned over and said, "Gotcha." So I remember, Renee. Okay, so after lunch, and we hope no incidents, the electives start again, 1:15 to 3:15. And then those who signed up for Story meet again with Jessica to pull their stories together because they're going to tell the rest of the camp some stories in the evening. Dinner's at 5:30. I like this. This is a little movie poster some of the students did for Harriman, directed by Rick Just. one year. They're talented people. At 7 p.m., we all go over to the boys' house and we listen, and about half the students perform for story. And you know, students, when they read on Friday night, and we'll talk about that in a minute, when they read on Friday night, often they're very serious. They will talk about things that are hard to talk about sometimes. But here in Story Night, it's a comedy routine. It is just terrific. Probably one of my favorite parts of Writers at Harriman on Thursday night. Friday, we're up with the sun again for a little hike. If anybody wants to do that, back to breakfast. Then our last writers talk at 9 a.m. Historic Boys House. One of our instructors, this is Dwayne Blackcollar. Dwayne rather is a playwright and actor. He has worked with Idaho Shakespeare Festival and Boise Contemporary Theater. He'll be back again this year. He is a lot of fun. And then at 10 o'clock, remember this is on Friday, the students will get together with their teachers again, and they'll start polishing their performances because they're writing for the performance that evening, because the community is invited to hear them read, and very often their parents are there to hear them read. Again, everybody has a lunch and gets announcements and such. And then they get a little time at 1:15 to get some last minute tips and really polish off their writing. Then I get them. At 3:15, we meet behind the boys' house for a group picture. They get their t-shirts prior to the photos. They can all be dressed up and they're milling around. This isn't actually the official photo, but it shows that they're having a little bit of fun. Following the picture, I take them through a practice session for the night's reading. They go ahead and read their story or their poem or whatever it is. Might be an essay. They usually get about 3 to 5 minutes. Then at dinner, there's something a little different that generally happens. The three proctors get dressed up in what would you call this, prom clothes? It's basically supposed to be the Academy Awards, and they award pretty much every student something. It's a certificate of, I don't know, joshing, I guess, but it's a favorite. They have fun with that. Then it's 7 o'clock. That's when they all get nervous, because here's the time that they stand out on a little platform behind the boys' house and read their piece to the audience. And the audience again is, there'll be rangers there and there'll be community members, but mostly there will be their parents to hear them read that night. And then Saturday, everything good has to come to an end. We can still go out on that 6 o'clock hike and we still get breakfast, but after that, it's cleaning up the rooms and such, and getting ready to go home, and then the parents come and pick them up. I wanted to show you one more thing. This year, our fourth teaching writer is Kate Beret, unless she's Kate Lawley. Kate goes by a couple of different names. I thought it might be fun to get a genre fiction writer. And Kate is really good and lives here in Boise now. She's from Texas to begin with. Let's see if we can find a picture of Kate. This is one of her series. There's Kate with her puppy. She writes urban fantasy, and she also has these some cozy mysteries. And anyway, she's going to be a lot of fun for the students this year. Let's see if there's anything I'm missing up there. I'm going to open it up to questions right now and see if anybody's got any. I'm going to take it back from quit sharing the screen and see who's still here and see if anybody has a question.
I'll go.
Yeah, good, Nicole, thank you.
So I was curious, this is new information for me, so
Uh-huh.
I'm uncertain. I'm curious what you're looking for with the people that are online and what kind of opportunities there may be.
Well, what we're looking for as far as student writers, we're looking for somebody who has a passion for writing. They just love to write.
Mhm.
And it is a merit-based system. We do ask them to submit a sample of their writing. Could be anything. And we will take a look at that. And if they're passionate enough about their writing to really want to attend, that's about 90% of it. We
Okay.
really want them to attend. And I've got to say, it's life-changing. It really is. Very often, these students come from, let's say, not the in clique. And
Mhm.
some of them do. Renee, for instance, she's probably in the in clique. But they tend to be a little bit more introverted because they're writers.
Yeah.
They're you know, they kind of have a retrospective view of life, and they think maybe that they're the only ones, and they get there and they find their tribe. It's terrific to see them find other people who like the same things they do, and they don't get laughed at, believe me. It's a very welcoming situation. Does that answer that question?
Yeah.
Or have you got more?
It sounds like an amazing camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the adults that are submitting writing, that's to teach kids like the electives, or the
Oh,
camp counselor, or
yeah.
to
The
help out
adults
with.
are teaching writers, and we have them picked already. And most of them, well, all three of them at least, have already been writers, uh, teaching writers at the camp in the past. And we have we have a hard time. We have people always wanting to get those positions because they are so much fun.
Mhm.
But we always kind of have a policy: if you've been with us and you want to continue, you can do that. So we don't have an opening very often. But as I say, we have Idaho's writer in residence, and she's been with us 4 or 5 years. So we've got some terrific teaching writers. Okay, any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I'll just kind of jump off of what you had mentioned about it being really welcoming. Is I am very much an extroverted person, and there were definitely a handful of people there who were that way.
Uh-huh.
So if you are extroverted or you are introverted, it's super easy to really fit in there.
Oh, yeah.
We're all just living out in a cabin in the middle of the woods together, so it's a really good time.
It is. Thanks, Veronica. Absolutely. It's a terrific experience, I think. That's at least what I get from other people. And Veronica, you did a little photography this last time, didn't you?
Yeah, Ellen and I actually grew to be super close, so that was
Yeah.
fun. Even if you aren't a morning person or a night person, I recommend at least one time going on a nature walk or going out and just
Yep.
looking at the stars because they're absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. In fact, Alan, our camp naturalist, Alan Dale, he's a biology and ornithology teacher at Cuna High School during his school year. He's also a photographer, and he brought this enormous lens, and he was generous enough to lend that lens several times to Veronica. And she got some great
Yeah.
pictures. Yeah, and that's inspired us. Actually, we're going to have Alan do a little photography lesson while at camp too, for people that are interested, and I think that will be a nice addition.
Yeah, that sounds
All-
amazing.
Yeah, it'll be fun. All right, anybody else with questions? Well, if not, I certainly encourage you to go to writersatharriman.org and get those applications in. You'll see that there's 3 different kinds of applications there. There's the application for the first-time person, and there's a $25 refundable fee for that one. If you haven't been there before and you want to apply, use that application. If you're applying as a scholarship student, there's an application there as well for that. And finally, there's an application for those who are returning students. And the only difference with that is that we still charge you money and all that kind of stuff, but we don't make you write again because we already know that you've written and you've been in Henry's Fork Journal, which I should have mentioned. The students write whatever they write, whether it's a short story or maybe 2 short stories or 2 or 3 poems or whatever. They get some of that published in Henry's Fork Journal each year. And it's mostly for the camp, but it's also available on Amazon for anybody who might want to like to buy it or buy it as a present for their grandmother or whatever. So, all right. Assuming there's no more questions, I'm going to just say farewell, and I hope I see you all at one point or another, either at the camp or in association with the camp.